let me take you straight to a Peace Council press conference on peace building and consensus building as we gear up into the 2024 elections. It's being addressed by Dr. Reverend Edu Jemfi, who is chairman of the Peace Council.
To build a peaceful and sustainable democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
I think let's do another round for our chairman. Chairman, thank you so much. The chairman and Justice Bafumoni will be moderating the event for us shortly. But before they do so, I would invite Justice Bafumoni to come and give us some ideas for discussion. So a clap for him would do. Just a quick moment.
Good morning once again, and welcome to this interaction. I like the word interaction. I don't believe that we should be, at this point in time in our lives, we shouldn't be lecturing each other. We should be interacting and picking ideas off each other. It's going to be a short presentation, and we will leave the audience to ask questions and we fill in. But let me give you a brief introduction and background. Over the years, since the inception of the Fourth Republic in 1992, several election petitions have been filed and dealt with in the courts, with varying outcomes and pronouncements from the court. While some petitions have been thrown out as having been filed before the declaration of results, others have been thrown out as having been filed outside the 21-day time period permitted by the rules. While some have been thrown out because instead of a petition, the challenge was started by way of a writ or other methods. Some have been thrown out for one procedural breach or the other. While some petitions have been withdrawn by the petitioner or struck out as having been abandoned, some have actually proceeded to trial and judgments delivered on them. Some petitions have been determined in favor of petitioners with the declared results being overturned. Others, and actually many more, have indeed ended with the confirmation of the results declared by the Electoral Commission. For those that have traveled the full length of trial, from the rather extreme case of Amon versus Adote, which traveled through the whole period of the Second Parliament of the Fourth Republic, that is from 1997 to 2001. Others have traveled through periods of 6 and up to 2 years or more. Of the 17 petitions that were filed after the 2020 elections, quite a number went beyond 1 year. So even though we have moved away from the 4-year period in the Amod case, we still believe there is room for improvement. The first presidential election petition ended on the 29th day of August 2013, almost 10 months after the results had been declared, and almost 9 months after the swearing-in had been done on the 7th day of January. Immediately thereafter, there was a clamor for reforms, which culminated in the passage of CI 99. So the last presidential election petition after the passage of CI 99, that is the 2020 presidential petition, took less than 50 days to complete. There is hope that this can even be further reduced. So the question is, if a full trial of a presidential petition involving the whole nation can be conducted within 2 months, why should a parliamentary petition involving one constituency take more than 2 months to complete? After carefully reviewing a number of parliamentary petitions over the years and interviewing judges and interacting with judges who actually sat on some of those petitions to share their experiences, some common challenges were identified. So it is this, in this paper, it is proposed to discuss these identified challenges and proffer solutions going forward. The challenges can be broadly classified as statutory and procedural, institutional, and then the capacity of judges. Article 99(1)(a) of the 1992 Constitution provides as follows: the High Court shall have jurisdiction to hear and determine any question whether a person has been validly elected as a member of Parliament or the seat of a member has become vacant. Now, this is a reproduction of sections 16 to 18 of the Representation of People's Law 1992, PN's Law 284, which, on the other hand, provides as follows, quote, the validity of an election to Parliament may be questioned only by a petition brought under section 17 to 26. 2, an election petition shall be presented before the High Court for hearing. Now it goes on. Section 17. An election petition may be presented by one or more of the following persons: a person who lawfully voted or had a right to vote at the election to which the petition relates, a person claiming to have had a right to vote at the election. Now, Section 18 is where the problem is. An election petition shall be presented within 21 days after the date of the publication in the Gazette of the election to which it relates. But a petition questioning an election on or an allegation of corrupt practice and specifically alleging the payment of money or any other award to have been made by the person whose election is questioned off and to that person's knowledge or to have been on behalf of that person's knowledge may be presented within 21 days after the date of the alleged payment. Now, why do we have a problem here? It says an election petition shall be presented within 21 days after the date of the publication in the Gazette. If you look at Article 64, it says the validity of the election of the president may be challenged only by a citizen of Ghana who may present a petition for the purpose to the Supreme Court within 21 days after the declaration of the results of the election in respect of which the petition is presented. Do you see the difference here? The parliamentary petition can only start 21 days after the publication of the results in the Gazette, whilst the presidential, after the declaration, we don't know, I don't know which one comes first, but we all know that the Electoral Commission that declares the results doesn't have administrative oversight over the publication of Gazette. I think they only present their results to the publisher who publishes it. So if you are tying the commencement of an election, parliamentary election petition to the publication in the Gazette, then you see that you are going to extend the time for the adjudication. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. For example, in the case of Baba Jamal, there was a case involving Baba Jamal at Kwacha constituency. he started his petition at the Koforidua court, and the court granted some reliefs to the petitioner at the time, that was Dr. Asare, the late Dr. Asare. He brought the petition. He got some reliefs. And when they came to the Supreme Court, they were quashed because as at the time the reliefs were granted, the petition was filed, the election results had not been declared at all. As a matter of fact, later on, it came up that Akwatia constituency had to even undergo some revoting, some constituencies. So the declaration had not been done. So in that case, it fitted right into the law that until and unless results have been declared, you cannot present any petition. But there was a case involving Daniba and Haluti, that was in the north. And that one too, the petition was thrown out this time because, as they said, as at the time the petition was filed, the results had not been published in the Gazette. Indeed, the petition was filed on the 26th of December, but the publication of the Gazette was on the 5th of January. So as at the time the petition was filed, the publication had not been done. So it means that until the results are published in the Gazette, which we do not have control over, the EC doesn't have control over, nobody can start a petition. So we are thinking that in this day and age, at what point in time do we get to know the winner of any election, particularly parliamentary election? Within 3 days, everybody should know who is the winner. So the declaration of results, so instead of tying the commencement of the petition to publication of the Gazette, we propose that it should be tied to declaration of the results. But then, that is if the EC can give us some assurances as to when and how publication, the results can be declared. Because I think one of the reliefs that the petitioners were seeking in the last presidential election had something to do about the number of times declarations were made and other things. So when is the actual declaration? So we should be able to identify when the actual declaration is. Then we will move forward. Now, why 21 days? We have identified the publication in the Gazette and the declaration. But why 21 days? Because anybody who wants to petition should be able to gather his material or whatever. We are talking about one constituency. It is not the whole nation. It's one constituency. So why do we have to tie ourselves down to 21 days? So even if we say that 21 days after the declaration, and we say the declaration is on the, let's say on the 10th, we still have to go all the way to 31st of December as the last day. That is not good enough. Why can't we say, for example, 7 days? 7 days after the declaration. So if within 7 days after the declaration, anybody who wants to challenge any petition in a constituency, parliamentary constituency, should be able to gather every information that he has. So then we go to section 18.3 of the law, which talks about the fact that once the time is due, whatever time we fix for ourselves shall not be extended. Whatever time we fix shall not be extended. See, the background for this quest to reduce the number of days or months within which we solve parliamentary problems is informed by the fact that we vote for people to go to parliament to go and represent our interests. So it is important that people are cleared to go and start work. By our constitution, the president has to appoint a certain number of parliamentarians as ministers. People are clamoring for a change, but it hasn't been changed yet. So that's the status quo. So the president must have the full complement of his members of parliament, from whom he will make his 40% or 50% choice. And then the people who have elected their representative must have their representation. Otherwise, it is just like giving somebody the right to vote with your left hand and then taking away with your right hand. He has voted for somebody who cannot be seen in parliament because somebody is challenging his presence in parliament. And that affects governorship. Then we are talking about institutional, statutory and procedural challenges. When you go to PNC Law 284, Section 26, it says, the rules of procedure for presentation and hearing of a petition shall be the same as the rules of procedure applicable to a civil cause or matter before the High Court. That is the law. So, even though
you have the Reverend Dr. Edu Jemfi, he's chairman of the Peace Council, as they begin to engage stakeholders to ensure peaceful elections. We'll bring you more of that in our subsequent bulletin.